In its heyday, this small fishing village was renowned for its fresh oysters. The industry supported thousands of oyster farmers in the area, but these days only around 100 of them remain. The bay separating Hong Kong from mainland China is facing multiple challenges. Conservation groups say shellfish reefs in Hong Kong are being destroyed by coastal development and over-harvesting, and the local community and marine environment are suffering. Feng Chan is a third-generation oyster farmer. He says this year's harvest has been one of the hardest in decades.
So he
says that because, as you can see, the oyster shells that are open, that means that these oysters have died. And he says this is because of the weather conditions this year. There's not been enough rain for these oysters to survive in this water. So what does that mean for the local community then that depend on these oysters to make their living?
We've invested a lot of resources in this. Now they're all dead. It's a total loss. It's an issue for us to make a living this year. As a farmer, what scares us most is that we'll have no income. It's a serious problem for us.
The loss of these reefs is jeopardizing livelihoods, but conservation groups may have an answer. Along the bay, discarded oyster shells have piled up over the years. Now, Annika Law from the Nature Conservancy wants to work with the farmers to turn this waste into brand new reefs.
There are many oyster shells here, and they are actually the good materials for oyster reef restoration. So we are collaborating with them to start some recycling initiative, so that we can collect these discarded shells from them. And after the pathogens, after the disease died on the surface of the shell, then we can reuse them to build a new oyster reef in some other project site.
The new project will ease the burden of food waste on Hong Kong's landfills and could also clean up the city's waters.
About the size of one Hong Kong oyster, they can filter up to 30 liters per hour. So imagine if in the bay or if in our Hong Kong waters, there are a lot of oyster reefs here. They can improve water quality.
The project is also enlisting local restaurants, which are a key source of shell waste. The restaurants boil the used shells and then wash and dry them for Annika and her team to come and collect. She says half of the 5 tons they've already collected have come from restaurants like these. The method has been in use elsewhere for around 15 years, but the Nature Conservancy is bringing it to Hong Kong for the first time. They're hoping to turn refuse back into reef for Hong Kong's last remaining oyster farmers and bring biodiversity back to this struggling bay. Michelle Hennessy, TRT World, Hong Kong.